Thank you, big time.
Welcome to 100 Yards of Football this morning. I'm your host, Vincent Turner. And today on that NFL Draft Special, the player that we're going to highlight is Jaret Patterson, running back out of Buffalo University. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. We surely appreciate it here at 100 Yards of Football. And joining me is a very talented guy, also a good-looking guy out of North Hollywood, California. He's the senior draft scout for CVSports HQ. My man, Mr. Timas. So if you like the video today, please come in and share it as I bring this very talented gentleman up. Mr. Patterson, tell us about him going into the 2021 NFL draft. Excuse me. Mr. Timas, tell us about Mr. Patterson going into the 2021 NFL draft.
It's kind of deceiving because not only is he 5'9", 195 pounds, it's a good size. I mean, it's a good size, decent, but yet this guy has a lot of power. I mean, he's bigger than what his measurements are. You know, he's an efficient inside runner, contact balance, lateral mobility, and short area agility to run quick to side. Very impressive running back. Back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons, which is pretty impressive. Becoming in college is pretty impressive. Just back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And one, he rushed for almost 1,700 yards with 19 TDs. Man, come on. Let me take it back, because what I like about Jaret Patterson is he's going and running through these holes. Just his ball security. He doesn't lose the ball. He doesn't fumble. And now in the NFL, if you lose and fumble, you're out of the game, or you're not coming back until like a game or 2 games later, you know? This guy you can probably trust as a runner. Lower half, solid as a runner. His footwork creates extra opportunities. He's not the quickest of feet, but once he gets that quick burst, he'll take off. Instinctive, great vision, quick-footed, sets up defenders well to make his moves and just take off. A good athlete. And versus Kent State, which was one of the games I saw, I was like, wait, he just had 8 touchdowns or 409 yards. What? You don't hear those stats. Those are video game stats. I'm just gonna play. I'm like, what? He's on S-game modes, man. Like, it's unbelievable. He's a north and south runner. Fights for every yards for his size, which is pretty impressive. You got a guy out there that's not gonna come down or doesn't want to come down at all. You want that guy on your team. Impatiently waits for his blocks. He sets him up. I think he's one of those runners that you just want to look out. Like, you can't see him, but when he pops up, you're like, oh, I better be ready. So when you see him, you better be ready. You better be ready, because he's going to come out to play. And I think he'd be special on any team in the NFL. I look forward to seeing this guy in the next league.
What I like about Mr. Patterson out of the University of Buffalo, kudos to my friends in Buffalo, New York today that's watching here on 100 Yards Football. God bless. But what I like about Mr. Patterson, you mentioned something about his size. 5'9", 180, but I'm going to call him small back university and all the small backs that's made it in the NFL. I'm going to start with Eric Allen that played at Michigan State in 1971. I'm going to start with Anthony Davis out of USC in 1975. I'm going to start with Eric B. I'm not going to pronounce his whole name because he did the hottest thing now with the Kansas City Chiefs offensive coordinator. He did his thing at Colorado in 1990. Then I'm going to start with a young man that's a tremendous character guy. Played here with the Atlanta Falcons by way of Florida State University, my man Ward Dunn. Then I'm going to start with the 2-time Heisman Trophy winner, Mr. Archie Griffin. And then another young man out there where you live at, Mr. Timas, Darren Nelson out of Stanford. They played in Minnesota. And then a guy I saw playing in the 1970s, Mr. Walter Packer, who did his thing at Mississippi State down there in Stockville. And then finally, to the Midwest, Javon Ringer, who did his thing at Michigan State. All those guys were small, but you know what? There were some bad mamma jammas because they can run between the tackles, and they had great careers at their respective schools. Then this is one thing I like about Mr. Patterson. You brought up the Kent State game, but also he had a really nice game against Bowling Green in 2020. But production don't lie. In his career, 3,800 yards rushing, 62 touchdowns. That don't lie, man. And when you got that type of production and you run between the tackles, I don't care who you are. I'm going to take you to the new age who he reminds me of that had great careers in the NFL. Remember Joe Morris? Out of Syracuse, was 5'7", played with the Giants. I think he had a good career. Think about this name. Unfortunately, his career ended in the ways that we didn't want to end. Ray Rice was a pretty good player with the Baltimore Ravens out of Rutgers. And then finally, another small back university, I'm going to call them today. Darryl Sproles was that thing with the Eagles and the Saints. So this young man, Jaret Patterson, I see him being like all those other guys I just mentioned. Final words about Mr. Patterson, the running back out of the University of Buffalo this morning, Mr. Timas.
Well, you know when you said production, you don't lie. But the thing that you can't lie about is, and you're kind of being concerned a little bit, is about he was only targeted 25 times in 2 seasons and only 20-something receptions. That's kind of concerning because nowadays, like running backs, you have to do it all. I mean, he's that tight. It can't be that tight, but you don't hear about his receptions. You don't hear about him running, outbacks and running digs and running, slants coming out of the backfield. But like, besides that, he's a runner. He's a tenacious runner, someone that you just want on your team, that you just can fight for every yard. I'm looking past the reception. It will come, but I would draft him. I think he's someone special that could come out and just run and just be an effective back in the next level. So my take, A+. Let's bring him on.
My final words about Jaret Patterson out of University of Buffalo. He played in Buffalo, New York. Fantastic. It was a gentleman that I love as a musician. His name was Rick Jaimes, and he had a song called Ghetto Life. Well, Mr. Jaret Patterson is going to represent the University of Buffalo in the 21 NFL draft because he's going to be about that life like the great Rick Jaimes said. If you like the video today, please come in and share it. I'm your host, Vincent Turner, and joining me this morning from North Hollywood, California, my man, Mr. Jimmy Timas, senior draft scout for CVSports HQ Network. Thank you. God bless. And y'all have a wonderful day. We are 100 yards of football.